Hello, hello, and welcome to the Coaching Business Spotlight Show. I'm your host, Kat Connect, and today on the show, we are going to end the series on back to basics. This is what we've been talking about this summer. And obviously, I need a little basic work around my microphone because it just wasn't in the right position when I started. Anyway, that's how it goes. That's how it goes when you are a coach in business. There are things that you get in order, and then there are things that you have to keep in order. Many, many, many of those things. And we talked in the first show of this series, kind of went over all the things that I think are basic to a coaching business. There's the marketing piece, having a niche and a message. There's the admin piece. You want to make sure place that people can book and people can pay, and that you're tracking your clients and scheduling. There's sales, which is different than marketing, knowing that you understand sales and how you want to make sales. And that sales is when you actually say to somebody, are you interested in my services? Would you like to be my client? Where you ask, there's different aspects of sales in a coaching business. So that's one of them. And then last, on our last show, we had Charlie Jett. If you didn't listen to that show, I highly recommend that you do. He is one smart guy, and he really talked about, from his perspective of being a coach and being a coach in business and the work he's done with clients who are entrepreneurs, what is so super important. Kind of, if I were to bring out the top things from that call, it's about knowing where certification or your coach accreditation fits in to the bigger picture. It's very important, in my opinion, to get trained. And I would highly recommend you get well trained and not just trained, on a very short course so you can get accredited. This is why I teach for the Coactive Training Institute, because I think they're one of the best. So you want to get trained as a coach. Super important. But getting trained as a coach is just a piece. And sometimes it's just the beginning. And you think about other professions, doctors, teachers, lawyers, where you get trained, important. And then there's the time where you're in internship. So in coaching, it's where you're exploring, what is my niche? Am I going to be an executive coach or have my own one-on-one coaching business? You make choices about, or am I going to go to something like Better Up and, just farm myself out as a coach, or, let somebody else do the marketing. There are other organizations that hire coaches. So that's the time to decide. And know that this is the next piece. It's going to take your effort and your intention and your passion and training and money and time, and you need to invest in it if this is what you want for a lifelong career. And it's worth doing, because if you do that piece of the work right, you're set up. You'll be able to do coaching as your job, the income, the fun that you're wanting for the rest of your life if you want. So you need to think about that bigger picture. Today, I want to focus on something that I feel like I don't spend a lot of time talking about. It's in my book. It's certainly something that's been an important part of my business building, but it wasn't until I was working with one of our Soul Driven Success business program students or participants, clients, because this person really was interested in this idea and asked me about it, and we unpacked it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is something so important to me. And yet I get very focused on some of the other pieces of the building, and I forget about this. What I'm talking about is what I'm going to go through several different types, but I'm really looking at time that you take intentionally that's not working time. This is time where you have no clients, you have no classes, you have no courses. You need to take time as a business owner. One thing that I'm going to start with is to take at least one business retreat a year. I take 2 or 3 a year. And I did learn this early on. Thank you to some of my mentors who brought this to my attention, that a business retreat is essential. It's not an extra fun, oh boy, that would be great to do. This is why these are the basics, where you take 2 or 3 days and you go somewhere. You go someplace pretty, stay at a hotel, or you go camping, or you go stay with somebody you know, but you have a whole private place and a time for yourself. Really essential that you have time where you have no obligations. You're not making dinner for other people or cleaning up the house. Yeah, that part is also essential. You want to have totally open time to focus on yourself and your business. So I separated those two things. That's a big piece. I'm going to unpack a little bit of why a business retreat is so important and how you actually could structure one for yourself. I'm trying to think of a metaphor right now. It's not really coming to me, but you are like the main cog in the wheel. I don't know if that's it. You are the person, you as a person run your business. So you are an integral part of your business running. So there are business systems. There are a lot of things that go on in the business, but most of them take you actually being present, being emotionally, mentally, spiritually healthy, because actually coaching people requires that, and running a business makes it even more so. So one of the essential pieces is that you have time as a person to let go. To let go of all the people that you're thinking about, the things that you need to do. And it's different than a vacation, because this isn't like you just totally go and now you're playing all the time, that is a great thing and very important. This is a separate experience. It's where you are intentionally nourishing yourself as a coach and CEO. So you're taking time to let go. You're taking time to unpack some things. This is a really good time to assess, where am I as a person, and where is this business of mine? If you kind of have the picture of when you're working in your business, it's hard to see some of the things that are happening because you're in it. And now there's another client, and now you got to get a marketing message out, and you are in and thinking about it from an inside perspective. A business retreat gives you the opportunity to step outside. And this type I'm recommending, where you have no responsibilities, so that inner voice and wisdom has the opportunity to speak, to be heard, to actually for you to take the time to go, oh, that's what's not working, or oh, that's something I love that I've been ignoring for a long time. So there's totally on this business retreat, I recommend you have some time where you're not doing anything, walking on the beach or in the woods or downtown. You're meandering around, but you're doing it purposefully. You're doing it in order to let go, to connect with yourself, to nourish your soul. There might be things you like to do, like I do. I'm a big music person. So on my business retreats, I have lots of music with me. I play it really loud and I sing. That's one of the things I do. It's just really, really fun. So you might want to think of, what are some activities that you just don't normally do, perhaps, that on a retreat, a business retreat, you can just go crazy to kind of get your self-expression, give it some love. Totally, a business retreat is a creative project. It's all about that right side of the brain, or that part of you that has intuition, that has insights, has ahas, and that part of you that really needs to rest, like your brain, probably. So this is a time where I'm going to recommend on your business retreat, this isn't a time where you're going to do a linear piece of work out in the world, but you might get some creative work done. My book, Evolve Your Coaching Business, I wrote almost all of that book on business retreats. Now, since I had a special project, I took longer on those retreats. I had a couple of them that were a week long, but also I had a couple that were 2 or 3 days. And I would just go in and I would enter the book territory and just start writing. And I had retreats where I was organizing the writing and editing. So it can be on these retreats that you have a project, a creative project you're working on, like that. As long as it's just, it's getting those juices going and you have the opportunity to play with things, to experiment. You have that opportunity to actually accept maybe there's some things you really don't like about your business or running a business. It's not just the saboteur, it's you that doesn't like it. And you might need to get help or a partner or find another way to do it. On this retreat, I recommend you don't try to figure out like the how it's all going to get done. You spend this time more on looking at your vision. You maybe have a vision for the year, maybe a 5-year vision or a 10-year vision. Look at that vision and just talk to it. Ask it some questions. You might want to do some writing where you're just writing about your future and what you're imagining you want things to be like. Like, think about coaching and the visioning that you do. There's a whole exercises around vision stories. You could write a vision story for yourself. You want to have your time. I think of it as it's all intentional, which is what makes it separate from a vacation in a sense. It's intentional, but some of the intention is doing and some of it is being. Intention to let go, to play, to goof off, and to spend time looking at your business, perhaps doing some creative work that you often don't have time for, or plotting things out like, again, I love to plan. So that's one of the things I do on my retreats is I make plans. It's like, well, if this is the thing in my vision, then what are the 10 things that are going to move me closer to that? To do that on a business retreat when you don't actually have to take the action yet, it's so relaxing. And you're going to get much more clear instructions because your saboteur is not going to be, oh, no, I don't know if I can do that, or that seems too hard. You're just going to be going, this is how it seems to me. And there is something about being on a retreat. So another piece is you want to set the retreat up for yourself. You want to prepare ahead of time so that you're not like 5 minutes before you go on retreat, you're hanging up from your last client. You want to have a little time. You want to be able to put things down. You want to get people if you need it. Like I have my VA come in to do some things while I'm gone. You might just want to let your clients know, make sure you close down your email. Do some rituals that are going to have your heart and mind know this is done. I'm not working anymore for the next 3 or 4 days or a week or whatever it is. And instead, here's what I'm going to do. And whatever your beliefs are around what accesses that inner wisdom for you. If you have some kind of meditative habits, I have a morning writing habit and my soul search process. This is a great time. You might want to bring, fun thing. Like I like to bring those, not necessarily tarot cards, but those inspirational cards with me on my retreat. So I can kind of just have some fun, helping them give me some insight. You might want to, there's some exercises you might want to do. I love to do the belief shift, one of my favorite exercises, because often on retreat, I discover, wow, I've been operating under a limiting belief because now I can see. I've had the time to step away and go, oh, that's what's happening here. So those are some of the ideas that I have. And the last piece I'll say about the business retreat is you want to end it. Like we have a thing in Coactive, like what do you have to say to be complete? It's also just a general coaching things. The ICF they're now like really recommending you even complete a coaching session with what do we need to say to be complete. You want to have that on this retreat. What's going to have you, and maybe a couple of hours before the retreat is over, or even a half a day, where you're like, okay, I've gone, I've played, I've thought about my business, I've done some visioning. What do I want to take back to work with me? Almost as if you are your own boss and the boss is going to be expecting So we sent you on a retreat and we spent all this money on you having this time. What do you got to show for yourself? Right? Not quite that demanding, but you want to have for yourself. Okay, here are the 6 things that the ahas that came through, or insights, or action, some action that came to you that you weren't going to quite go into at the retreat, but now you want to make note of it. Also want to come back with, here's some things that I know I need help with, and these are some things I'm no longer going to do. Here's a thing I did a long time ago. I haven't done it in a while. It might be a good thing to do. But for a while, I would go on these retreats and I would notice when I came back that business would always pick up. There would be an uptick in business, to the point that when Curtis and there was a point in our business building where if things were slumped, we would say, oh, it's time for Kat to go on retreat. Because it wasn't just the tactical things I brought back. It was the recharge of the energy. And it was while I was gone, I was putting out a message. My energy was getting, expanded. My creativity had been tapped. I don't know exactly how energy works, but it always worked. So that's another piece. I started tracking my success based on these. I'm going to go through another list of things, but one of them was a business retreat. So to the point that now I take 2 or 3 business retreats a year. Sometimes they're just 2 days. Sometimes they're 4 or 5 days. So I don't think the amount of time matters as much as the real clear intention, and you have a space that's just for you. I have a friend, Brad, if he's listening. Brad, this is about you. Brad was one of the people, and he and I had a whole business partnership when we both lived in Los Angeles, and he would just go to a local hotel in LA. I would love it. He would send me an email or a text. He's like, hey, Kat, I'm at this hotel and, I'm doing this fun thing. Didn't have to be far from his house. It usually wasn't. But he would go, he would check himself in, and I remember how inspiring it would be, because he would get full of ideas and he would always come back all charged up. So that's my encouragement to you about how essential a business retreat is. And now I'm going to go over a few other activities I want you to add in to your yearly calendar or weekly calendar along the same lines. Basics. These are essentials for you as a business owner and a coach. You need CEO time. CEO time is where you have time to dream. You have time to play around with ideas. You have time to integrate things that you've learned. So I have a dedicated CEO time in my calendar. It's called CEO time. So I know what it is. I know when it is. I know what I'm going to do during that time. I also have a separate category called creative time. Most coaches in business, if you're doing something other than just the one-on-one, you want creative time to create your marketing message. You want creative time. Maybe you want to create an exercise or a freebie or a social media post, or you want to make a video. You might have a more ambitious project of writing a book or an ebook or writing a TED Talk, doing a speech. Creative time in your calendar is not something that just, you hope you have time for. Because all the things that I just laid out, all of those help you to build a business. And if you have the time for it, you're going to be able to bring, your best self to it. Your most, creative self is going to come forward if it's like there's a part of you that knows, oh, this is the time. So for me, I have Wednesday mornings. Almost every single week, I have Wednesday mornings, and I don't work with anybody until 3, my time. And sometimes I have the whole day and sometimes till 3. All my creative projects go there. I want to think about who I want on the podcast next. And I write, think about my blog. And sometimes I just take that time and look at what I have and think of, it's kind of just whatever the creative juices are inspiring me to do. Okay. Then there's vision time. I talked about it in the business retreat. I take once a month and I do it on the first Friday of the month just to make it easy on myself. I look at my year-long vision. I spend hours. This isn't just a glance. I look at what are my goals and what did I want to have happen. I have a vision board, but I have goals in my vision board. So I have them all together. I'm looking at what's happening with it now. What's not happening? What do I feel about it? Since I've been doing that as a habit, for the most part, my visions become a reality. If not within the year that I set them, but eventually, because I'm keeping connected to it. I'm having a conversation. I'm touching base with the resonance. What's still resonant? What's not? So that you have that bigger picture guide for yourself to keep you inspired. Last but not least, and this one is funny to me. So this is downtime. Now, way long time ago, 24 years ago to be exact, or almost, I was in the coactive leadership program. And one of the things in that program is they have you thinking about what's a project that you want to do in the world that's like bringing your best leadership to the world. I had a lot of ideas about it. My very first idea was I was going to go into high schools because my children were in high school at the time and I was very involved with their high school. And I thought, well, that's what I'll do. I'll bring coaching into high schools. And I talked to one of their guidance counselors, I think, about it. And I really started getting onto that track. But then things happened in my life and it didn't work out. So I had to like reboot and think about what is it that I really feel is needed in this world of coaches, because I'm in a world of coaches by then. Everybody I knew pretty much of all my CTI friends and leadership, and I was involved with ICF. And I thought, oh my gosh, what they really need is downtime. And so my project was called the Downtime Hotel because I had a dream of creating a getaway place for coaches. And specifically what I had come to learn, it's not everybody, but kind of a specific downtime for coaches. And I ended up executing this project. Curtis and I moved to Ventura and we were renting a house, and this house had a back house. So I thought, well, this is the coolest thing I can do. It can be the Downtime Hotel. So I started inviting coaches to come and do a retreat there where I kind of taught them how to have downtime, a little bit like I've done the business retreat, right? I taught them how to have some downtime, not just off time or on time, but downtime where they were intentionally, there were things they would like sleep in and eat their favorite soup. And it wasn't very complicated, but what are the things that have them feeling comfort and nourished and just able to let go and do some dreaming, not have to do anything, but intentional downtime that nourished them. And, as a leader, as a coach, as somebody who really was doing something impactful in the world. So that's another piece to put in. And it's funny because I think, well, again, I'm asking you to think about it differently than just you're off. Okay, it's 6:00. I'm no longer working. So that is technically downtime, but this is more intentional, where you are intentionally shutting things down. You are walking away from the work you do for other people, and you're doing something that nourishes you. And it's whatever that is. This was I went on with the Downtime Hotel for a couple of years. We bought a house with a back house. And so I had many, many coaches who I would have for weekend retreats and go over, again, much of what we've been talking about today. We did here's a business retreat. I talked to them about CEO time, creative time, vision time. And of course, there's this one piece that seems sometimes the most challenging of all, because it seems like you should know how to do it, Or maybe you feel like I'm already doing it, and maybe you are. But here, just for the sake of this exercise and this show, think about how you might do your downtime differently, more intentionally, lined up with your values and what really nourishes you right now. Not just ticking off the box, I'm going to get a massage or I'm going to go to the beach, which are good things. I love those. But what is it that you need right now for downtime? Maybe it's talking to a friend. Again, for me, it's things like singing or walking in the woods. Or I love for downtime a creative project. Is downtime to me when there's no outcome that's expected of it. I love collaging. I like doodling and drawing. Think about some creative things that you might not have thought about in a long time or even considered. Oh, that's what I really want to do. And schedule that into your weekly. This is about weekly. You might have a bigger time, but weekly schedule it into your weekly schedule, into your calendar, that during the work week, you're going to have some downtime. And on your weekends, don't just go into the rote mode of, okay, it's the weekend and these are the 6 things we do and I do with my husband or my wife or partner or friend. Think about you as CEO, you as coach, a person who's here to impact other people. I'm going to say cheesy enough to make the world a better place. You work in a way that's very, very specifically human-oriented, heart-based. So it will most likely require some very individual, specific types of downtime. So put that in your calendar and maybe this weekend, play around with these things. Maybe take some time to look at when would that business retreat fit into my schedule and book it. That's what I'm going to say. You just got to book it. Book a hotel, book an Airbnb, book a flight, book, the little B&B that's down the road from you or somebody who's going out of town. You're like, snatch their house. It's something that it's important to take action on. Put that CEO time in your calendar, visioning time, and see what happens. I'd really love to know. This is one show. I get some responses from people, and I always appreciate it. It's fun to converse with you. Kat@souldrivensuccess.com. Anytime, send me a message about what this show has given you insight about. I'd love to know that. And just as importantly, what's the action that you are going to take or that you have already taken to go out there and nourish your heart, your soul, so that you can give some extra love to yourself and your business. Thank you for joining me today on the Coaching Business Spotlight Show. I'm your host, Kat Connect, and I will be back on the next show. We're going to be starting the fall series. You're going to have to come back to listen to know what it is. Okay, thanks for joining me.